News 2.
On World News Tonight this Saturday, the Kennedy family buries another son. The Pope brings a message of hope to a devastated region. And American balloonist Steve Fossett avoids a major hurdle in his race around the world.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight, Saturday. From atop ABC News World Headquarters in New York, here's Elizabeth Vargas.
Good evening. He was called the hope of his generation in the Kennedy clan, the next Kennedy expected to enter politics. Michael Kennedy's was a life of public service and public scandal. The service he kept quiet, the scandal he could not. Both the hopes and the disappointments were buried today in a somber ceremony in Massachusetts. ABC's Morton Dean is there.
Some of Michael Kennedy's 9 brothers and sisters crowded into the hearse, accompanying the mahogany casket to the old weather-beaten Cape Cod Country Church, located a few miles from Hyannisport and the Kennedy compound. It was a poignant expression of togetherness for a family so often torn by tragedy, so often battered by controversy. They were all here, all the survivors, including Senator Ted Kennedy, John F. Kennedy Jr., Caroline, who was married in this church, Bobby Jr., and of course, Ethel, who now has endured losing 2 sons, Michael and David, who died in 1984 of a drug overdose, in addition to losing her husband, Robert, assassinated during his run for the presidency. As if to shut out all the controversy, the funeral was private. No cameras, no recordings. The image this image-conscious family had no trouble portraying today was simply and profoundly that of a family in pain. The reports from inside the church were of a family trying to contain its grief.
The family seems to be doing very well in that what seems to have become a traditional Kennedy stoicism that we see in these rites. They seem to be very poised.
In his eulogy, Congressman Joe Kennedy referred to his brother's many international charitable activities. He said, "I ask now only that we look at Michael fully, not in the glare of a moment, but in the wholeness of his life. It was a life cut short, a life not without pain and imperfection, but full of hope and high achievement." There was only that veiled reference to Michael's involvement with his family's teenage babysitter. Leading the casket from the church was Michael Jr., the dead man's son, and following were his 2 daughters, Rory and Kyle, and his wife, Victoria, from whom he was separated. Then the funeral cortege made the long, sad journey to a cemetery in Brookline, a Boston suburb. And Michael Kennedy's promising, often successful, sometimes painful journey was over. Another young Kennedy was laid to rest. Morton Dean, ABC News, Brookline, Massachusetts.
The Kennedys have experienced more than their share of triumph and tragedy. This is far from the first time the children of Ethel and Robert Kennedy have gathered together in sadness. Here's ABC's Bob Woodruff.
In the Washington of the 1960s, you couldn't help notice the children of Robert and Ethel Kennedy. For one thing, there were just so many of them. 11, born over the course of 17 years. They were just getting over the assassination of their uncle, President John Kennedy, when their father won the California presidential primary and seemed headed for the White House.
My thanks to all of you, and now let's go on to Chicago and let's win there.
Minutes later, that dream ended with a bullet.
Oh, my God. Senator Kennedy has been shot.
For Ethel Kennedy and her children, a pattern of triumph and tragedy had been set. In 1973, Joe Kennedy, the oldest son, crashed a car he had borrowed and left one of the passengers paralyzed for life. In 1984, David Kennedy died at the age of 28 from an overdose of drugs. This spring, before he died, Michael Kennedy was accused of having an affair with a family babysitter. Charges against him were never filed. But in spite of all the problems, the Kennedy children have also inherited their father's zeal for public service. It has been 29 years since Robert Kennedy was buried, but his memory still inspires them. His oldest, Kathleen, is now Lieutenant Governor of Maryland. In 1986, Joe became a congressman from Massachusetts, a position he still holds. The youngest, Rory, here in the red coat during an anti-apartheid march in 1984, is a documentary filmmaker, and Douglas is a TV journalist.
This is one of the issues my father was very concerned with.
Others in the family have gone on to be prosecutors, business executives, and advocates of human rights. Michael himself ran a company that helped provide cheap heating oil for the poor. Perhaps the eulogy for their father 29 years ago still rings true.
Those of us who loved him and who take him to his rest today, pray that what he was to us, what he wished for others, will someday come to pass for all the world.
Bob Woodruff, ABC News, Washington.
Still ahead, around the world in how many days? An American millionaire tries to be the first to circle the globe alone. A top Mexican official resigns under fire in the aftermath of the Christmas massacre. And rebuilding a community and its history with the Pope's blessing.
This is World News Tonight, Saturday. Brought to you by Office Depot.
Dilbert for Office Depot.
Dilbert, I'd like you to meet Ben, our newest Fast Track manager.
Hi.
Ben has no real experience, but he's very tall, so we know he'll go far.
I also have executive-style hair.
We think it will turn silver.
Business doesn't always make sense, but Office Depot does. With over 7,000 different office products, plus guaranteed low prices and free delivery on any order over $50. Business is crazy, but Office Depot makes sense.
Introducing Buick Celebration 98. An exciting celebration of Buick's world-class power, comfort, and style. Now through January 5th, get 0.98% APR GMAC financing, which can give you up to $2,100 average finance savings and make no monthly payments for 98 days on every 98 Buick. Drive a Buick and save during Buick Celebration 98. But hurry, this celebration ends January 5th.
It feels strong and dependable, but also exhilarating and unexpectedly fresh. Fix-It & Fresh. A stronger, longer hold. Combined with a crisp, cool sensation. Dependable, yet refreshing. One great combination. Fix-It & Fresh and forget it.
One of the McCoy septuplets has distinguished himself from his famous siblings. Kenneth McCoy today became the first of the septuplets to be released from hospital. He now weighs 5 pounds 6 ounces, up from his birth weight of 3 pounds 4 ounces. No release date has been set for the other McCoy siblings who are listed in fair condition. American balloonist Steve Fossett is floating over Eastern Europe tonight, an impressive distance from his starting point in St. Louis, Missouri. Today, Fossett cleared the biggest hurdle in his race around the globe. Last time he tried to make it around the world, he ran out of fuel, waiting for permission to cross Libya. This time, the winds were more cooperative, and as ABC's Jim Wooten reports, Libya is no longer a problem.
At one point last night, hurtling along in the jet stream 5 miles over the Atlantic, Fossett's balloon reached an amazing 160 miles per hour.
It's a rather radical flight. I was concerned about getting caught in this storm and being circled back toward Iceland.
Now, much lower and slower, the Solo Spirit is floating silently southeastward over Hungary toward Romania, far from Libya, which offered its belated and useless permission to enter its airspace today. Cold and sleepy, Fossett was nevertheless cautiously optimistic.
I'll either not get very far from here, or I'll make it all the way. I'll either be really happy or have a worse flight than last year.
Well, the speed you're going, you should do very well. You should get around.
Fossett was talking with Richard Branson, the British tycoon and fellow balloonist, aboard a chase plane over Germany.
Well, this balloon system is really put together and has been tested out well, so I'm trying to do my best to fly it.
Branson, whose recent attempt to fly around the world was aborted in Morocco, seemed not at all envious of Fossett's progress.
There's only one person in this world who would be mad enough to try to fly around the world on his own and brave enough, and that's Steve Fossett. I mean, he's superhuman.
In St. Louis, Fawcett's team was positively euphoric about the 12 days left in the estimated flight schedule.
Where do we go from here? Around the world and back past St. Louis is where we go from here.
Despite that confidence, with Asia and the vast Pacific still to be crossed, that remains a very distant, difficult, and dangerous goal for Fawcett and his Solo Spirit. Jim Wooten, ABC News, London.
Fawcett may soon have some competition in the air. 4 other teams are preparing to launch from points around the world. Next up on Tuesday, an American team sets off from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Before the end of the month, Richard Branson's British team hopes to launch from Marrakesh, Morocco. Teams in Rockford, Illinois, and the Swiss Alps also hope to lift off. Anheuser-Busch is offering $1 million to the first team to make it all the way around the world. President Clinton had a windy round of golf today on his last full day of vacation in the U.S. Virgin Islands. In his Saturday radio address, the president asked Congress to beef up the budget for the Peace Corps by $48 million. That would nearly double the number of volunteers serving overseas. The White House and the Iraqi government today both condemned an attack on the UN headquarters in Baghdad. An unarmed grenade was fired at the building, which houses offices for the UN weapons inspectors. Because there was no explosion, damage was slight, and no one was hurt. Mexico's second highest ranking official resigned today, the latest political victim following the massacre of 45 unarmed Indians last month. At least 2 members of Mexico's ruling party have been implicated in that massacre. ABC's Deborah Amos reports now from Mexico City.
A surprise announcement today. The Interior Minister resigns in a government shakeup. Mexico's President, Ernesto Zedillo, promises to start peace talks again with the Zapatista rebels. But can he stop the growing crisis in Chiapas? In the last week, some 6,000 Zapatista supporters fled their villages. Rather than face armed gangs, they say, are aligned with local officials of Mexico's ruling party. These are the same gangs accused of the Christmas week slaughter of 45 people, mostly women and children.
These gangs have been controlling the population through terror.
More than 30,000 federal troops are here to resettle the frightened refugees. They now patrol the mountainsides. But many here ask, why did this help take so long? Even before the massacre, local religious and human rights groups warned officials about the growing violence. A recent report by U.S.-based Human Rights Watch shows officials routinely ignore violence when carried out by government supporters.
We've brought this to the attention of authorities on a state and federal level, and unfortunately, we have not seen a response that is equal to the problem.
A week ago, government officials explained that the murders in Chiapas were simply part of a family feud. But there's intense pressure here to explain why the attacks are directed only at people who don't support the government. In Mexico City, there is public outrage over the Christmas week slaughter in Mexico's southern state of Chiapas. The resignation of a high government official today, an admission that responsibility rests in Mexico's capital. Deborah Amos, ABC News, Mexico City.
More than 400 people have been killed in Algeria in the worst massacre of that country's 6-year civil war. It happened on Tuesday, the start of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. Survivors describe a scene of horror with attackers swinging axes and slitting people's throats. There has been no claim of responsibility, but Islamic rebels are suspected. Still ahead, Pope John Paul visits Assisi, still shaken from its September earthquake.
You've tried to quit before, but you're still smoking. Now there are totally different ways to help you quit. Not a patch, not a gum, but prescription medicines that can help reduce your urge to smoke and help separate you from your cigarettes. Ask your doctor about the different ways to quit. Or call 1-888-959-STOP and get ready for success.
Parenting is a constant learning process. What you have to do is prioritize.
Back in '88, Earl wanted to retire, spend more time with Tiger.
My dad taught me.
I met an American Express financial advisor. Dave is a personal friend of mine to this day. We trust each other because we got a track record.
It's about making smarter decisions.
We're a team, and that's when dreams can happen.
American Express Financial Advisors.
Is there a store between here and the Canadian border we haven't been to?
Come on, couple more stops.
Honey, I'm beat. I'm starving.
Here.
Ensure bars?
Complete balanced nutrition. To go.
Introducing Ensure Bars, a source of complete balanced nutrition, packed with protein, vitamins, and minerals to help you stay healthy and energetic.
Delicious. What's next?
The Canadian border.
I'm ready.
New Ensure Bars, from the #1 doctor-recommended liquid nutritional supplement to your health.
Where are we? What's out there? What will happen? On a night like this, the mind can't help but ask. Well, now there's someone to answer.
Mr. Haley, I see you're 2 miles south of Reading. You want to take the next right for a service station.
OnStar, always there to help.
Sunday on This Week. It looks like our government has money to spare this year. Will you get a tax cut? Plus a Unabomber trial preview with famed attorney Barry Scheck. This week, Sunday.
Pope John Paul made his first visit today to the region in central Italy devastated by 2 powerful earthquakes. It's been nearly 4 months, but as ABC's Richard Gisbert reports, life is still far from normal.
The Pope came to Assisi today to talk about the loss of human lives and artistic treasures. John Paul prayed for the victims of the September earthquakes, and he urged Italians to follow the call that their patron saint, St. Francis, said he heard from God. Go and rebuild my house, he said. Part of the ceiling of St. Francis's ancient basilica collapsed in the quakes. 4 people died, and priceless frescoes suffered irreparable damage. In all, 13,000 Italians lost their homes in the earthquakes. John Paul consoled an elderly couple in its makeshift home this morning. The Pope's public appearances today were, by his standards, noticeably short, much shorter than he would like. John Paul II's doctors are telling him that his fragile health means he can no longer maintain the vigorous pace he was once known for.
The most difficult for him is to move around and to speak with people. And that's very tough for him.
Nevertheless, the Pope was in relatively good form, walking unaided. It was a marked improvement from Christmas, when he looked and sounded weak. Today, John Paul seemed to draw on the warmth and energy of Italian Catholics who came to see him. Richard Gisbert, ABC News, Assisi.
There is another confirmed case of the mysterious bird flu in Hong Kong. The latest victim is a 19-year-old woman. She is in critical condition. Health officials say they may have to expand their testing to include geese, ducks, and other birds. 4 people have now died from the virus. Coming up, a salute to the little-known creators of well-known inventions.
Oh, this head cold. I'm so clogged up, I just can't focus.
You okay?
Ugh, if this meeting doesn't go well, it's all that work wasted.
You gotta stay focused.
I'll find a way.
Clear the congestion with new Tavasty Caplets prescription strength. Just one gives you 12 hours of uninterrupted relief. To get that, you'd need 4 Tylenol cold pills. Tavasty clears your congestion, so you're clear-headed again. Why be congested? Be clear-headed clear through your day with new Tavasty Caplets.
I shampoo every day, but my scalp still itches.
You need Scalpicin for deep scalp itch, the itch you can't wash away. A clear liquid, not a shampoo, with medication not found in leading shampoos.
The itch is gone.
Scalpicin.
My Beltone Invisa, the hidden hearing aid, has something new, the Comfort Circuit. It automatically adjusts to help keep loud sounds comfortable. I hear great, and it's tiny as ever. Visit Beltone today and save $100 on Invisa.
Buttery new Brummelin Brown. The creamy taste of butter blended with the goodness of yogurt. Taste a bunch like butter on broccoli with less fat. Brummelin Brown, bliss on bagels, bold and baked potatoes. New Brummelin Brown tastes buttery on beans and baked in butternut squash. Rubber one banana bread, a bit on buckwheat. This boss.
New
Brummel and Brown, the creamy taste of butter blended with the wholesome goodness of yogurt.
Must be new Brummel and Brown. Yeah.
Introducing Buick Celebration 98. An exciting celebration of Buick's world-class power, comfort, and style. Now through January 5th, get 0.98% APR GMAC financing, which can give you up to $2,100 average finance savings and make no monthly payments for 98 days on every 98 Buick. Drive a Buick and save during Buick Celebration 98. But hurry, this celebration ends January 5th.
They say necessity is the mother of invention, but sometimes it's simply dedication and hard work that produce the best inventions. And though we all benefit, we rarely stop and think of the hard work that's behind those contraptions that simplify our lives. Tomorrow, the New York Times Sunday magazine looks back on 1997 and honors some unsung inventors who passed away. Here's ABC's Sylvia Chase with an exclusive preview of tomorrow's New York Times Sunday magazine cover story.
You see this stuff every day. You use it. But when you're tapped out at the ATM, you're probably not racking your brain wondering who invented it.
He's God. I think I thanked him once in my prayers, but that guy, thank goodness.
Who ever think of sticking your card in the machine and out comes money?
You never thought about who invented it?
No. Who did invent it?
Luther Simgen. That's who. Hardly a household name. The first cash machine in 1960 automated deposits only, but the banker he made it for told Simgen customers didn't use the thing. And Simgen, 92 when he died last October, never got a penny out of the ATM. The man who put the yield sign onto our landscape was the late Clinton Riggs, an Oklahoma policeman who almost had a wreck at a tricky Route 66 intersection back in 1939. The sign Riggs made for Route 66 has gone through some changes in 60 years, but today still means watch out. Except in Passaic, New Jersey, where Officer Scott Nader works.
They don't yield, they go right through it.
And who would think of inventing a highway sign?
Julie Just of the New York Times sifted through dozens of inventors' obituaries and chose only 7 for this year's list.
They influence life all around us. And they're people who certainly didn't get the recognition from the public that uses their brainstorms every day.
The brainstorm behind the barcode scanner suggested computers could unscramble images and information. Inventor Jerome Lemelson eventually won a reported $500 million, suing large corporations he claimed stole his patents for the scanner. And what about Dayglow? Someone actually had to think that up. Robert Switzer first combined paint with chemical compounds in 1934. And now it's everywhere.
Every little thing that's out there, somebody figured out.
Tucker Viemeister, who designed a better potato peeler, thinks the inventors who died last year all shared a certain quirkiness.
You put 2 oddball ideas together and it makes a lot of sense.
Say combine electricity with a colorless gas. Next thing you know, you have neon, a virtual theme park, and a very happy new year. Sylvia Chase, ABC News, Times Square.
Well, he makes a living painting lines on parking lots, but Terry Pledger picked up $1 million yesterday for tossing a football. The Georgia man threw the ball through a 30-inch circle from 10 yards during the Orange Bowl, much to the delight of the crowd. Congratulations. Coming up next, the sad legacy of an American dynasty.
Why all these laxatives?
Why not?
They have ingredients that may cause pain and cramping.
Says who?
Says on the label. Don't you know nothing's better than Phillips Milk of Magnesia?
All these overnight laxatives have harsh stimulants. Phillips doesn't. It's the only one without the ingredients that may cause pain and cramping, and nothing's more effective.
Did I tell you Phillips is really effective?
You told him.
Phillips, effective relief without harsh ingredients.
When you trade online with DLJ Direct, you're awakening the resources of Donaldson, Lufkin, and Jenred, a Wall Street powerhouse. You have research on 80 different industries and access to DLJ's IPOs. The power of Wall Street is now in your power. Trade up. DLJ Direct.
Wouldn't it make sense to eat more of something you love if you knew it was good for your heart? Well, soluble fiber from oatmeal as part of a heart-healthy diet may reduce the risk of heart disease. Quaker Oatmeal. Wouldn't it make sense to have it more often?
I don't paste my dentures anymore. I bond them with C-Bond denture adhesive.
Two powerful adhesives in a micro-thin seal bonds dentures to gums. Can hold and fit comfortably all day. No messy cleanup.
Bond your dentures with C-Bond.
Storm Tracker 2000, only on News 2, the most powerful weather tracking system on television, period.
Finally tonight, as we've reported, the Kennedy family has laid another member to rest. For many who've watched the family deal with so many tragedies, it is a painful reminder of what has passed.
Joe and Rose Kennedy seemed almost like American royalty. They amassed a personal fortune and forged a political dynasty that included several of their 9 children. But the old saying that money and power can't buy happiness certainly seemed true for this Irish Catholic family. Joe Kennedy died in 1969, but not before seeing 4 of his children killed. In 1944, Joe Jr. died while serving his country in World War II. 4 years later, Kathleen Kennedy died in a plane crash. Then in 1963, a stunned nation grieved along with the family when President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. 5 years later, while campaigning in Los Angeles for the presidency, Robert Kennedy was also assassinated. Ted Kennedy has been the torchbearer of the family's political legacy. He was elected to the Senate in 1963, where he has since served. But any hope of becoming president ended in July 1969, when his vehicle plunged off a bridge on Chappaquiddick Island, killing Mary Jo Kopechne, the young woman who was with him. Tragedy struck again. Robert and Ethel Kennedy's son, David, who witnessed his father's assassination on television, died of a drug overdose in Palm Beach, Florida. He was only 28. And now, Ethel Kennedy has had to bear the loss of a second son, Michael Kennedy, in what seems like another senseless tragedy. Despite a difficult year for Kennedy, many remember him for his philanthropy and good works. And he will be missed by his family, many of whom have known tragedy all their lives. When Robert Kennedy, quoting Shakespeare, eulogized his brother John Kennedy, he seemed to speak for the entire family and the decades-long legacy of pain.
When he shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars, and he shall make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garish sun.
And that's World News Tonight for this Saturday. Tomorrow on Good Morning America Sunday, truck stop health clubs. Are they the answer to a growing problem? And later on this week, defense attorney Barry Scheck talks with Sam Donaldson and Cokie Roberts about the Unabomber trial. Thanks for joining us. I'm Elizabeth Vargas. For all of us here at ABC News, have a great night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now always on.